is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
In the iRacing world, Week 13 is often seen as a time to let our hair down, kick off our shoes, and relax. Drivers get to play with new toys, and iRacing gets our feedback on those new toys. But because official racing mostly takes a break during this week of revelry, that is when special events such as today's fair pops up. And much like communities such as the Formula Renault and the Spec Racer Ford, the Kamel GT community has begun to make a tradition out of quarterly endurance races just for kicks. But don't assume that that means there won't be fierce competition in the two classes battling today. We'll see who gets bragging rights for 3 more months as we get ready to watch the SimSport News Sebring 300K, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the GTP class is Sean Ambrose. Next to him covering the GTO class is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, it doesn't feel like we were at Sebring all that long ago with this crew, so it might be fresh in a few people's minds, but for those who didn't watch that one, let's help jog the memories of people about this circuit.
Joe, today it's all about 300 kilometers. You know, they've been running enduro races here at Sebring International Raceway since 1950. They had hay bales here back then, not now. Sebring International Raceway, a classic American circuit, 3.7-mile road course with 17 turns. And, you know, they've had all kinds of winners here over the years. Guys named Fangio, Foyt, Fittipaldi, Gendebia, Gurney, Greg, Moss, McLaren, McNish. I think maybe you've heard of some of those names before, but I'll tell you what, various sections of this course have been repaved over the years, and it's made kind of a patchwork of this track. But a real way to take a look at this track is to hop on board for another GSRC lap around Sebring International Raceway.
All right, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Sebring. Turn 1 tends to be a good passing spot in most cars, but in the Nissan, this thing is terrifying. You carry a ton of speed through here, but just pray that the bumps don't unsettle the car. Keep on hugging the right side on the short run down to turn 3. There's a late apex here, but make sure not to clip the inside curb. From there, you're right into 4 and 5. Once again, turning in late is the desirable line through 5. But here you've got to try and get the power down quickly. Big bend and the blast towards the hairpin are flat out the whole way. This will probably be the most popular overtaking spot since it's a long acceleration zone into a very heavy braking zone. Just be careful when surrounded by other cars because it'll be easy to overshoot and plow into someone ahead of you. What's really tricky is trying not to spin the car out as the turbo kicks in. Turns 8 and 9 are simply about lessening your steering input to keep your speed up. And then comes another good place to attempt to pass, Cunningham. But if you find yourself side by side coming off the corner, it can be bad news. Collier is narrow with very little runoff on either side. Then there's the difficult curved braking for Tower. This is another inside curve that I highly advise not mounting. At last, there's a little breather until you have to attack Bishop. Take this as a single arc even though there's 2 apexes. On exit, make sure and stay to the left for the best entry into Jean Debienne. There's paved runoff, but getting to slow down here can really hurt you. And it's critically important to get a good run off of Le Mans anyway. Once you get dumped onto the Ullman Straight, it's a long, long ways until sunset. Even though the draft isn't as effective in the Nissan, getting a bad run might mean finding yourself too wide into the corner, and that is going to be extra scary. Just look at how much speed you take into the kink. Manage the car over the bumps and then smoothly bring the power back in. This brings us back onto the front stretch to start it all over again. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Sebring.
That should give you an idea of the bumps that these drivers will have to deal with. Thankfully, these older cars tend to be used to a little bit rougher tracks than more modern machinery. Now, with this being a one-off race, let's get you up to speed on exactly what is entailed in this event, because it's going to be slightly different from the usual Kamel races that they hold. 300K means we're looking at about roughly 90 minutes because it is about 50 laps. Now, there is one stop for fuel that both classes can expect. They aren't going to be able to make it all the way to the end, no matter how much they try and save. And they have technically 4 classes, but they're split between 2 makes of cars. The prototypes, the Nissans, there you see at the top, have the GTP and the GTP lights. And then at the bottom, they have the GTO and the GTU with the Audi 90. So they do that basically so that there's something to fight for as sort of an amateur championship in each of the classes, because boy, are there some fast drivers out here today. And Adam, thanks for coming on and joining us for this one, because we need a little bit of help. We can usually handle the regular one with just a 2-man team, but 90 minutes out there today, we've seen how much action this series tends to put on.
Yeah, you know, and it seems to follow me around. Every time I've done one of these races, it always seems to be either, you know, attrition playing a role, pit stop playing a role. It's always something that makes these races interesting. So, hey, stay tuned. I mean, we'll have to figure out what it's going to be for today. But being Sebring, you're going to have to worry about the handling. And you're going to have to worry about the bumps. And you're going to have to worry about just this general multi-class speed difference between those Nissans and these Audis. So, a lot of what to look forward to here for today. We got some names, too, that we don't normally see out there running. So, it'll be mixing it up with some guys that we know. I mean, hey, here's Ray Partridge, Dog Bear Racing. We know Ray from a lot of the major series stuff that we do. We know he's going to be fast out there. I mean, he got some of the Dog Bear guys like Wayne Hutchinson. I saw him out there as well. So, you know, it's going to be mixing it up with guys that they normally don't race with, and I think that's going to add to the excitement level and the prestige with whoever can come away with the win here today.
Absolutely. Thomas Delmuth out there as well. And Sean, some of our viewers might not have seen some of the Kamel GT racing, so that Adam mentioned the new names out there, but what about the regulars? What are the names that you think have the experience that are really ones to watch out for, both in the Nissans and the Audis?
Let's see. Let's start with the Nissans. How about Justin Albrecht? Right
Absolutely.
now, he's top of the board. How about Ardo Miyamaki? Carl Jansen coming back for a visit. We know his prowess. Rob Olenek, Timu, Fat Timu. All the Fat Timu fans, check in. You talk about some of those names over there. Tapani Lilawuto is here today. So a lot of fast drivers. Head on over to the Audis. And, well, right now it is a mix of guys that we're not familiar to seeing. With Barron there at the top at the moment, and Buscemi. Now, Giorgio's had a good season. So we have been used to seeing him. Dennis, kind of a newcomer. Dennis Neidhart. Nick Bucanos. Now there's a familiar name. A wily-eyed veteran and him. Hayden Pastorius is here today. The Canadian. Kane Lasky. We haven't seen him in a while. Milan Arnozzi. You look through the Audi. It is a familiar group. Phil in and around the lake there. Andrea Albertinelli is here. Hideki Koivitso. Richie Hearn, there's a name that we're familiar with. We were talking about that in the pre-race. He's popped up in an Audi today, so we'll see what Richie's got in the four-wheel beast known as the GTO. Used to seeing Richie either behind the mic or in an Indy car, so this should be fun seeing what he's got for the field today. And currently trying to get a qualifying lap in. He has not got one yet, so we'll see where he slots in on the board. With just under 5 minutes to go here in quali.
Yeah, now, Sean, did you remind Richie that this is going to be a little bit heavier than an Indy car?
I don't think I need to remind Richie of anything. So he's got me in the racing department.
I was just going to say, I was a little surprised that he took to the Audis instead of the Nissans, because that's probably a little bit more used to what he was used to racing professionally. But we've seen Richie hop in just about anything and be fast pretty quickly. As we watch Hayden Pastorius work his way around. They split up the qualifying just about when we came back from the pace lap, or excuse me, not the pace lap, the lap guide. We switched over here to the GTO class, watching them put their laps in. Riley Thompson currently sitting on the pole. Glad to see him back up to speed in this car. Had a bit of a fallow period after coming in with a splash at the start. But the Total Downforce Racing car seems to have found its speed once again. So with just about 3.5 minutes left to go, we talked a little bit about the bumps and and whatnot, but there are passing opportunities around here. And Adam, some of the places are probably a little bit safer than others. I mean, what would you recommend to the drivers if you were giving them a chat about where to try and overtake?
You got a couple here at Sebring. I mean, it's and the thing is, though, too, is that what we'll find is a lot of times, even though on what we normally think of as passing zones versus danger zones, here sometimes those intermingle, and you got to be careful. As you look at, I believe that is Stefan putting in a little bit of the spin cycle, but passing zones, of course, turn one. That's one that's going to be pretty famous out there. You've seen some classic passes done in turn one, and we've seen some classic mistakes done in turn one as well. I'm thinking back to the Corvette just a couple of years ago during the 12 hours. Turn three is another good passing zone. Go up to the hairpin, be another place that's going to be a great place to make a move under braking. Particularly, I think that's going to be where we're going to see a lot of multi-class passes done, is going to be in the hairpin. Of course, Cunningham, and then of course you got the sweeper there right at the end, Sunset Bend, and that'll be another one where I think we're going to see a lot. And if you watched any real world racing here over the last 2 years at Sebring, it seems like Sunset Bend is back to being a really, really important corner, and I think you see some of that here in the sim world today.
Now, as you were chatting, we had a bit of a change in that GTO lineup. At least at the top of the grid. We're used to names like Phil Lake being at the top, but Sean, Milan Arnozzi on the front row. I did not expect that. He's been picking up his game.
I think somebody's been practicing this week, Joe. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, listen, Milan's been solid. He had a great season 4. I mean, finished top 5 in the points. I mean, nothing to be ashamed of there. So, we know he has the speed, but right now, especially with some of the names we're seeing in the field, I'm a little surprised out of a front row speed out of him right now. I got to be honest, the track conditions are a little favorable today, though, Joe, for this race. It's a decent day outside. It's partly cloudy, 77 degrees. It's not blistering hot on the track. It's just over 100 degrees. So, maybe we've got a little bit of grip here with those favorable conditions, not a lot of wind. I think Milan's maybe got a shot here today. A really, really good qualifier performance by him. And up front's where you want to be, Joe, out of trouble. Because this track, we talked about the places to pass, but there's some pretty tricky spots too. And I always think about turn 1 and then going down into turn 2. That's a mess. That whole complex through there is just a mess. And they get bottled up in there. And if you're not out front and you're behind somewhere in the middle of the pack, it's a bad place to start. So Milan obviously saw the value in a good qualifying run, and that's really worked out for him. And the Anvil up to P4. Now all of a sudden, Dennis Neidhart, the DH driver, with a good run here, getting himself into P4. Another guy who sees the value in qualifying up front, Joe.
There we saw Phil Lake just cross the line, but that lap did not count. In fact, this is going to be his last chance to try and improve himself from the second row. We have a few drivers who haven't even gotten a time in yet. Jochen Schmidt, who seems to have abandoned his qualifying. Michael Haynes. Thomas Delmuth is still out there trying to get one in. As the checkered flag now comes out, let's see who is just now finishing their laps and is going to be done for the day. Franco Scurry, I think, going to be the first one to cross the line, and he's currently sitting 9th in class. Oh, and it looks like he's going to abandon that one. So heading back over to Phil Lake to see what he can do on this lap as he comes up towards Cunningham, one of the heavy braking zones that leads him to one of the narrower parts of the track. He is coming up on traffic. Kane Lasky seems a little slow, and that is definitely not going to be a fast lap for Phil Lake. I think that is it for his qualifying. Now he's just having a little bit of fun out there to finish this one up.
Testing the new Audi Rally model.
Yeah. Coming hashtag soon. Yes.
Oh, let's hope so. That'll be a fun day. Kane Lasky's still out there, and I think is still on a somewhat decent lap. Actually, he might be... Yeah, no, I think he's still on a good lap, judging by that time. Currently sits 12th in class as he comes down the Ullman Straight. One more corner to go for Kane. Let's see what he can do in the number 34. He works his way around those bumps, the blind final corner, and to the line. His fastest is a 202.8. And across a 202.3, half a second faster. That'll bump him up to 10th. A nice final effort. This is Lawrence Coleman that we're watching. Oh, and I think he just had an off track, but Take Him seems to have bumped himself up a couple spots into 8th now with that last lap of the 201.7.
Got Buscemi coming around, but I think this is a slow one for him. It is, yeah. That's it, Joe.
Well, that is going to be our field. So let's go through our starting grid here for the SimSport News Sebring 300K. Dirty Torque is going to have Albrecht on the front row with Dave Walsh starting in 2nd. Then it's Ardo Iamaki who managed to put it in 3rd. And Radicals Online with the number 92 car will be starting in 4th. Rob Olenek will be P5. And then Team Bushfink has their red machine starting in 6th position, the number 22 there. Fresh Blaupunkt will be starting in P7. And Dirty Torque Hall will be Jamie Hall will be starting in P8. Racing Team Bushfink Racing Yellow starts in 9th. And then Radicals Online JRT in 10th. Sean, let's head through the rest of the Nissans.
Okay, we'll go to row 6. It's Tapani. Little Luoto there for Little Luoto Racing. They're starting 11th. Eyeline Racing starting 12th in that car. Let's see, who's in the Eyeline Racing car there? I don't know, Joe. Yeah, I'll read out the team names here. We'll go to row 7. That's the SimSport News Mercedes there, starting 13th. Reverend Racing starting 14th today. Row 8, Team Mike Kopak. We know him starting 15th, right next to Team Kevin O'Keefe. Rutgers Kev is here and starting 16th. And then we've got row 9, ASXP Race Team with Team Wayne Hutchison. Rounding out row 9, Adam, I'll give you the GTOs.
Yeah, and starting up front with those GTOs, you're going to find Total Downforce Racing. That's going to be the Riley Thompson machine out there, starting 19th overall, but first on the GTOs. Bobcat Racing with Malone Arnozzi riding behind the wheel. And we know he showed a little speed there late in qualifying, so we'll see what he can do during the race. And the Dirty Torque machine, with Lake behind the wheel, that's going to be starting 21st with 3rd overall. X-Batch Racing in the 2nd row of Audis. 3rd row of Audis will be Frost Racing Team, and then Dirty Torque, that's Buchanas behind the wheel of that one. Albertelli is going to be in 25th overall. Reverend Racing, 26th overall. Row 14 overall on the grid will be Gregio Bassimi in 27th. Audi Sport Natalia in 28th. Kane Lasky will be in 29th, and BB Racing in 30th. And then I've got a few more out there. Team EVA will be next up in 31st overall. Elite West, that's the Richie Hearn machine. That'll be one we'll be keeping an eye on. He'll be out there in row 16 alongside him. They'll be, the next row behind him will be Ray Partridge in that Dog Bear racing car. Kurotu Noatari in 34th overall. Pistorius, 35th overall. And I believe here they'll move that GTP machine up in the grid. I'll have to see if they do that. Jochen in 37th, East Coast Motorsports 38th, ROR Performance 39th, Raider Racing in 40th, and that is also Shotgun on the field. So that rounds out your starting grid.
And I thought the same thing as you, that they would be putting the Nissans with the Nissans. Well, because he didn't get a lap in, John Keefe in the SimSport News Mercedes is unfortunately going to be starting in the thick of the GTO class.
That begs the question, Joe.
Be careful.
Why me?
Different.
No.
John Keefe. You're thinking Kevin O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Different Keefe.
I'm getting my. Okay.
Still, I mean, the question applies to him too. I think today he's going to be asking that. Going to be wishing he managed to get a clean lap in. You can see all the cars working their way around on the pace lap rolling start out here for this Week 13 special event. And they've elected to use the Mustang instead of the roof, which is a bit of an interesting choice. I guess maybe going for that classic older look out there. Now coming down to Cunningham, you can see the lighting has changed. They've set up a different time for qualifying than they have for the race comparatively here for this special event. One of the new features here on iRacing is, of course, the dynamic time of day that you can now use. And the what we've now deemed on GSRC to be virtual standard time is right now 17:19 in the late afternoon here. If I do some quick math, that is about 5:15 in the afternoon that they are getting this race started here today. So sun should be going down, but shouldn't be dark enough that these Audis have to worry, as they do not have headlights out there, because it does get dark here at Sebring late at night. We're having a little bit of a debate before the broadcast on why they do not have headlights. So if anybody is a race historian out there in the chat, let us know exactly why they elected not to put headlights on the Audis, or if maybe they did and just iRacing doesn't have that version.
Joe, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was go for it.
I had a quick update, John. Now they did let John Keefe roll up to the back of the Nissan, so
good.
Yeah. So I guess that what they'll probably do is they'll clear any black flag that he might get by rolling up. But no, they gave him a pass through, told him to come on up and slot up with the Nissan. So
great job by the stewards to see that one. All right, you can see we're now heading down the Ullman Straight, being led by the pace car up towards Sunset Bend. And boy, they are going to get it literally here with the sunset in their eyes, coming into that corner under the bridge for 90 minutes for 300 kilometers. They're going to be racing here around Sebring as the Mustang pace car peels into the pit lane. Justin Albrecht has control, doesn't wait. Green flag is out here for Week 13 in the Kamel GT community. Justin Albrecht with a great jump over Dave Walsh, who's going to be on the outside, though. Artu Iamaki doesn't quite have the pace into the first corner to try and hold it down, so he's going to slot into third, but it is very clean through the GTP field. Let's go to the Audis. Adam?
Yeah, Riley Thompson got a great jump on everybody. He is away. They're sailing off into turn one. They are not able to get away from each other behind him, though, as Milan Arnozzi running high there through turn one. Phil Blake's going to get a little bit loose. He has to get off the gas. He's going to get freight trained by 3-4 cars, maybe 5 or 6 here. Something definitely not upright with that machine as they head into that 3, 4, and 5 turn complex there. He finally is going to be up to speed and settle back in right in front of Gregorio Bassimi. And then there's still double file going a ways back there, pretty much going back to the tail end of that Audi field.
Relatively clean, except for in our Nissans. We just caught it on screen, Sean. Tapani Lindo Luoto seemed to have a problem through, I think it was 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, he did. In fact, we got a quick replay of it here. We'll look at it. Tapani has trouble out of 2, Joe, and car gets around and he's got to correct it, and he lost 7 spots on that. Drops all the way to the back of the pack. Got really lucky there to avoid that Armco barrier there.
Yep, awful close. Hopefully didn't damage the underside of the car, but if you're going to have a problem in an endurance race, have it early. He's still got a good opportunity to try and play catch-up on the field here. Already completing lap 1, Justin Albrecht still up at the front. Dave Walsh holding relatively closely behind, but keep an eye on the car in third. Even though he's under threat from Janssen, Artu Iamaki tends to be a fast driver in this GTP field. Coming down to turn 1, right now he holds the car of Janssen behind. As they get spread out in that GTP class, let's take a glance at the GTO, since they are just now finishing their first lap. Thompson pulling himself a nice little gap, just over a second. Milan Arnozzi, who surprised us in qualifying, is holding down second. But look at this, Stefan Schlacher here, Adam. He's got some good pace and a new paint scheme. I think he's looking hot today.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad for himself at all here so far. And, you know, he seems like he has something from Milan Arnozzi. He's just kind of waiting to, biding his time, if you will. to be able to get by him here. It's still very early on in the race, but looking at particularly the high-speed corners, Milan and Stefan both taking very different lines, trying to feel each other out here right now. But that battle for second, as we look at Stefan trying to take a peek, it really knows that there's really no way that move is going to happen. Just kind of seeing, testing the waters, if you will. And then going back, though, the rest of the Audi field is actually single file until we go a little bit back, going back to Take Him and Callum Barron. That's BB Racing and Reverend Racing. They were running side by side there for just a minute. And of course, as we go to them, that is when they decide they want to go ahead and go single file here. But the Audi field, I think right now, just kind of being tame and just trying to click off laps, being very early on in this race.
Yep, Take Him actually made that pass just as we were going to him. That was through the hairpin. Oh, but a little bit wide coming through Towers. Going to hand it right back. And Barron moves himself up into the top 10 once more. Meanwhile, we've got some action happening over in the GTP. Sean, what's going on with Janssen?
Janssen just got around Iamaki. They fought their way through Sunset, and now it's Iamaki trying to get something back on Janssen here. Janssen, honestly, a little bit slow on the start. We got a replay of the pass here. As they make their way down the Ullman Straight, you see Janssen step out there into the inside of Sunset. He gets the pass done on Iamaki. It's a good one.
Brave.
It was kind of brave, yeah. But hey, when have we seen Carl Janssen not be brave, Joe?
Oh, and Stefan Schlacker just had a problem. I think possibly a missed shift because he went from third now down to seventh. Could be a slowdown penalty. It looked like he was slow on the Ullman Straight as well. Yeah, that looks like a slowdown penalty because he took a while to get back up to speed. Ooh. What was looking like a great start for that white and blue Audi has now left him having to scramble. So the Frost Racing Team car sitting in seventh just behind Franco Scurry. See if he can make some time up. Up ahead of them, nice battle happening between Mukanos Neidhart and Phil Lake. This is for the final podium position that these three are fighting. Lake poking his nose out, looking on Nick Mukanis down into Cunningham. Out breaks him into the corner, so he's going to have the inside, but it switches back into Collier. Oh, as they get very close together, but nicely done carrying the speed to Phil Lake. And with a bit of a brave move himself, the number 99 now finds himself in fourth.
Yeah, these guys kind of tasting the blood in the water a little bit after what happened with Stefan there, and kind of realizing that if once they can clear him, whoever's going to come out top of this battle is going to have a clear run to try to get up to Milan Arnozzi and try to take second. And while that's been going on back there, you know, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that Riley Thompson is not like drastically pulled away from Milan Arnozzi yet. He's still kind of in touch. So if those guys, once they settle it amongst themselves, we could very well be looking at maybe a 3-4 car battle for the lead if they can get back up there.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about yet that when they get hit by that Nissan traffic, that could also lose some time and bring Arnozzi right back into things. As that's been happening, we had a pass between Olenek and Toyka. So it looks like Fat Timo now in the top 5.
Yes, sir. And we haven't seen any of his fans checking in yet, Joe, here in the chat, but they're out there. Legions of Fat Timu fans everywhere. And the team Bushfink Racing Red driver has picked up one into the top 5. Drops for Olenek and honestly made pretty quick work of it. Olenek losing ground to him now, almost a second back.
And actually, I've seen a new hashtag. Some people have been saying "Fit Timu" instead. So maybe he's getting himself in shape. He certainly is fast enough already. So I'd hate to see what would happen if we see Fit Timu out there. He would certainly destroy the field.
If he needs any fitness advice, he can hit me up. Send me a message, Timu. I'll help you out, buddy.
You can see Olenek and the Dirty Torque, number 33, still trying to chase him down. He's got to worry, though, because one of the known fast drivers in this series is right behind him. In fact, a champion, Fabian Gerber. And number 25 sitting in 7th, just stalking him for now. As we look back through the 007 cam of Rob Olenek, we can see that blue and white Blau pumped machine doing what he can.
Yeah, going back now into the GT, the Audis here, that battle for third.
Oh, and what happened to Walsh? This was our second place driver. Sorry to interrupt. He's gone from second place down to 5th, and what is going on? Oh, driver error into the hairpin. We're going to see here on the replay. He was still chasing Albrecht and actually looking like he was gaining a little bit. Manages to pull out of the way just in time.
That was fortunate, Joe. Man, that really, oof. That could have been so much worse. Gonna go on board with Carl here.
Usually these cars have problems off the corner. I'm surprised to see under braking him lose the car as we watch from Anson's view.
Maybe a bad brake bias adjustment, Joe, possibly?
That did open up an opportunity for Iamaki on Jansen, but he was able to hold him off. Carl is now into 2nd, but they have caught the back of the GTO field. You can see them working their way by the car of Michael Carew. He tries to stay wide to the outside as a train of GTP cars just stream on by. Walsh seems to be having trouble coming off the corner. He was way wide. Going to give an opportunity to Rob Olenek. Can't quite take it into turn 1. A little shallow into that corner, and so he's going to lose time. Long race to go, and already we're seeing some action out there. Drivers making a few uncharacteristic mistakes. Now that looks like things have calmed down slightly. Adam, we cut you off right when you had some news on the GTO class. What's been going on down there?
Oh, we missed the action for the pass for second. Excuse me, the pass for third, as Philip Blake was able to get around Neidhart, and Neidhart's actually would have to fight off McConness here after a little bit. They have settled down quite a bit. In the grand scheme of things, though, that actually hurt that little bit of a pack because they've lost a lot of ground now to Milan Arnozzi. But Philip Blake is starting to pull away from Neidhart just a little bit, though. So we'll have to keep an eye. And while that's been going on, of course, Stefan Schleicher and Albert Nelly, they've been able to catch back up to the tail end of that pack also. So still some positions in play, but at least for the moment, they're running single file and calm.
If we can get a replay about 40 seconds ago, Rob Olenek came upon some traffic and had a hairy moment. That was with Lawrence Coleman. You're going to see coming out of Tower. There you can see he's still got Fabian Gerber right behind him, has really been hunting him for much of this early part of the race. They're in Cunningham here, and they're going to see Lawrence in a red Audi just ahead of them there. He's trying to stay out of the way, doesn't do anything wrong, and watch Olenek have to really get out of it. Good on everybody to keep that from going south in a hurry. I'm going to watch it one more time from on board the Dirty Torque number 33. Easy for me to say. Yeah, just the cars had a better exit than him, and he had to check up, or else he would have gotten into trouble. Well, speaking of trouble, Delmuth and Jamie Hall. What in the world is happening in Big Bend? This was within the same group of cars. This is the Dirty Torque number 420.
Oh. Yeah, and it gets worse. It's a double shot is what you're going to see here, Joe.
They were trying to split that number 70 Audi, and just unfortunately, the 3 wide did not work.
Yeah, and Jamie picks up a fair amount of damage on that car as a result of it, Joe.
Not what you want here early on, especially considering they have no fast repairs on these cars, so no spare car sitting and waiting for you, and it's a long ways to the first stop that they can do.
A lot of people will tell you, too, that Sebring is notorious for this kind of activity with multi-class racing. And we fully expected it to get tight. It definitely is, as some of these Nissans are making their way through the Audi pack. I mean, just close calls all over the place.
Certainly is not short of action. You could see heading down the Ullman straight, more of the back half of the Nissans now trying to work their way through the GTOs. That's Thomas Delmuth who's letting them all by, taking out some cones in the process. Emerton, oh, and Tapani Lindaluoto continuing to have absolute huge problems handling the car. But we haven't discussed it yet, but they did change the time of day from the qualifying here to the race, so I wonder if that's catching some drivers out.
It might be, Joe. I can't explain any other reason Tapani would be struggling so bad at this point. He's lost 2 spots. Car hasn't seemed real stable under him since we got started. He's still got quite a ways to go in this race, and fortunately hasn't picked up any damage as a result of this. So we'll see if he can keep slugging away here, but got a lot of work to do sitting back there in P13.
And to give you an idea of the difference, we mentioned it was about over 100 degrees earlier. It's now 79 degrees on the track surface. That's a lot cooler. Even though they have made the cars a little more compliant to temperature changes, I have to imagine it still could affect how it handles.
And, you know, and you keep in mind is that sun sinks further into the sky with the new modeling and everything. That track temperature's only going to cool down here as time goes on.
This action, sorry to interrupt, this action on screen is very hot. And we got, is that Toyka off? No, that's James King. But side by side between Emerton and Kankapati racing hard. This is for 10th position. And another car, that's Krejcik off track. Multiple cars now having problems with the sun getting further below the horizon. And onto the Ullman Straight, there's going to be another opportunity here for Arjuna and the Reverend Racing, number 7. He's got the inside. Behind them in the popcorn position, Lindaluoto has not lost track of them. He could take advantage and get 2 spots in one, side by side around the heavy bumps of Sunset Bend. Lindaluoto is a little bit too far wide, so not able to take advantage as still holding off the car of Arjuna. We've got Luis Emerton in 9th position.
How about that run? Oh, boy, that was close. Luis almost making the contact with the Audi as he was coming through one. Boy, but what a move through Sunset by Emerton, man. He had all the grip on that outside line and was smooth. Now he gets stopped up here by the car in front of him. That's Callum Barron in the Audi. He's going to get to the side there, finally let him pass. But, boy, this is a close moment here for Luis Emerton.
Having to fight hard here early on, but he's not got the inside. Can he do it twice now? Losing it under braking. Arjuna, can he hold on to the car? Can he get the power down off of it? Once again, for the second time within a lap, using the long way around Luis Emerton defense, and this time Lindaluoto is able to take advantage. What can he do with that red and white Nissan ahead of him, though? And while that was happening, we had some tight racing as well, and the GTO pass for 4th almost came to blows. We've got a replay on that one. Happened to be... excuse me, this is the pass for 2nd. This might be the one that I was watching. There was so much happening here. Phil Lake sees some traffic. I think, is that Albrecht actually? Wow, yeah, great use of the multi-class dynamic by Lake. And then we've got 4th place as well. Mukanos and Neidhart. They got some traffic next to them. Look at that. Oh! Neidhart having to take avoiding action just to stay away. Neidhart is going to fall down the order. Oh, and some contact between Schlacker. Oh, and a second touch is going to turn him around. JB Hall now makes contact with a Nissan. That's Paul Ilbrink off the track. It's a yard sale out in turn 5.
That's that bottleneck that I talked about down there, Joe. That complex, very hard to get right, even by yourself. It'd throw 3 or 4 cars in there, all trying to get through at the same time, and, well, this is what happens.
Oof, yeah, just a lot of miscommunication. I really can't put much blame on anybody there because everybody had their own agenda, which was understandable, fighting for position. Albring thought he was being patient, thought, okay, now I got an opportunity. And because I think that other Audi he was so caught up in what was going on with Schlacher, didn't know that poor Ilbrink was coming up the inside. So, as we come back live, we are only on lap 10, Adam. I know you were hoping for a little bit relaxation from your day job, but I don't think you're getting it.
Relaxation. I tried to talk twice. I got interrupted twice. So. But then, yeah, I got pretty hot and heavy there for a few minutes there. I mean, I was watching the pass there for third. I mean, all top 6 positions in the Audis have changed, with the exception of the lead, have changed positions here in the last couple laps. You saw a little bit of it right there. It seems like the only person that's been safe here the last little bit's been Riley Thompson. But even that, it's for a little while there, he started having Philip Lake catch him. But then we saw what happened with all that contact, and well, now he's been able to widen that gap quite a bit. So Riley Thompson's been the one that's been pretty much safe with all that, but he still has some Nissan traffic that's going to be trying to get around him here as you're looking at Jamie Hall trying to make that pass. And but things looks like they're trying to calm down a little bit until we go back to where Nicholas McConis is with Neidhart and Albert Nelly. They're trying to race. They just had Arnuja Pinkapati try to get around them. Here's Neidhart looking to maybe try to make a move around McConis. He can't do anything with them there. And then they've got a couple more Nissans getting ready to come through, including John Keefe and Martin Krejcik.
It's starting to look a little bit reminiscent of the DGFX race that we covered yesterday, just with the incredible amounts of traffic. And this isn't even a full field. We only had 40 cars start this race, as poor John Keefe is having to wait patiently. He is racing Martin Krejcik behind him, as well as James King, so they can't wait too long, even though they've got a battle for position in front of them. Neidhart still working on Mukanos now with a stretch up to Bishop. A nice opportunity for John Keefe to get by both cars.
Yeah, and be looking maybe for some of those guys to maybe make a little bit more aggressive moves than what they want. I think you just saw that out of James King in trying to get around Neidhart there that last little bit, because, as you mentioned, these guys are racing for position 2 and do not want to lose touch with each other. And that's kind of looks like what's happened now with John Keefe. John Keefe is pulled well ahead of those guys as they go down the Ullman Straight, and good lead there. Looks like King now able to make his way around McConis. So all 3 of those Nissans are in the clear and away from that little bit of a pack. They got a while before they hit any more Audi traffic.
And I'm sure they'll be glad to be able to continue that battle without having to worry about those faster cars. On screen a little bit ago, we did see that was a battle for 5th between Olenek and Gerber. That's actually not... but we got to stay on this action here that we're seeing on screen, because Neidhart not letting us get a chance to look at the other classes. Albertinelli took a look on him as they were being passed by the car of Mike Kopak. They're getting more in the form of Kevin O'Keefe, Rutgers Kev, having to try and squeak his way by now. And I think he's going to get a good chance not to interrupt them too badly with the braking down here into the hairpin as he weaves back and forth. No, in fact, he is not going to be overtake. He's going to split them through this tight right-hander.
We don't need to go to it or a replay or anything, but a minute ago, Richie Hearn did have a self-spin. He is back on track and fine, so this is still the action on the racetrack to look at.
Hearn back down in 18th at the moment. There you see on screen for fans of Richie. Also, a thank you to Mike Willett in the chat for wishing me a belated happy birthday. I appreciate it very much. As now we switch up to Fabian Gerber. Oh, and who is that? Was that a car off? I think Olenek avoided the wall, but just barely. From that angle, I thought that he had speared right off into the tires. Let's watch this from above. Down to the inside of Sunset Bend, Gerber finally, after multiple laps of trying, is able to get by that dirty torque machine.
And while that was going on, Tay Kim, running 10th in the Audis, ended up going off track. He did make contact with the concrete, looking at his car, it doesn't seem to be handling it the greatest right now. So we'll have to see if he ends up having to make his pit stop early. And that's something else too. There's Joe, that we were hearing. We did get some intel earlier that the pit window for the Audis will probably be around lap 21. So we're only about 10 laps away from that in the Audi class.
As we continue to watch one of the hottest battles that we've seen here in the Audis, Neidhart, the Anvil, trying to hold off Albernanelli. We mentioned some of these drivers really picking up the pace, and Andrea, I would count among those as well. Arnozzi may have found himself up towards the front, coming from the mid-pack, but Albernanelli, I believe, if my memory serves me, has come from the back of the pack here now to the top of the field. So what a great job by this number 12 car, as he's still fighting hard to try and find his way past Neidhart. He's also got to worry behind him because Franco Scurri, another Italian, holding him honest and threatening to take that away if he slips up. They work their way through Collier down, and we're finally seeing a little bit of the clouds come into play as well, as we get some cloud cover out here today, darkening the track slightly, the sun going down.
You know, it'll be interesting to see too, as that sun goes down, just how dark it gets here at Sebring, with the Audis not having lights. I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to work out.
Hopefully it shouldn't be too bad with it only being about a 90-minute race. Ooh, off track there by Albernanelli.
I did a little of my own private testing, I think like everybody did, and I went to an oval that didn't have any lights and put it in the dead of night, and you know, one horrible. You could still see. So I think they kind of scaled up the brightness just a little bit, so it probably won't be too bad here.
Maybe we'll get a chance to expand our graphic limits here, Joe.
Oh, and what happened to Fabian Gerber just after he took over Olenek?
Olenek, yeah.
Jamie Hall, his teammate, another dirty torque driver, gets into him, but that wasn't how it started. It was Lawrence Coleman. He was trying to overtake him around the outside. There you see contact into Cunningham, and then that was Olenek getting in the back of Lawrence. And poor Gerber was trying to get the car going, was just kind of stuck, splayed across the track when he got T-boned.
And I saw what happened to Lawrence, Joe. Poor Lawrence, his brakes locked up on him there going into the turn, and that's what started the slide and the contact.
And he did get on the radio and apologized. Oh, man, Jamie Hall, that was a hard hit.
Yeah, that was a hard hit for Jamie.
So they're all able to get going once again, but wow, severe damage on Gerber. He was already down in 5th and 6th position. This is going to make it a difficult task for him to attempt to get a win here today, despite taking the championship over in the GTP class in the official series, or the VCR championship, I should say. So not going to be a fun day for him. Now,
Joe,
oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You go ahead. I stepped on you again.
That's okay. I was going to say, as we watch this battle here between Luis Emerton and Paul Ilbrink, to manage to overtake Emerton on screen. Elena Luoto is still working on him. Someone mentioned my birthday the other day, but my birthday is not the only one around this time. Sean, it's sort of effectively an unofficial Mother's Day for you and I.
It is, as we both have moms celebrating birthdays this weekend. I want to give a shout out to my mom, Gail, and wish her a very, very, very happy birthday. Age not important. She's still lovely and vibrant and beautiful as she was when she was rearing my very, very hard to manage young butt around the house. So anyway, love you, Mom. And Joe, big love to your mom as well, who celebrated her birthday on Friday, I believe it was, right?
Yes, indeed. My mom, Jan, celebrated her birthday on Friday. And her, as far as age goes, she says that once she hit 40, she started counting backwards. So I guess she's ripe young age of 25 now. So.
Jeez,
that's one way to look at
it. I thought we didn't do math on GSRC. What's that all about?
No, that's all we do here.
Well, as we watch Emerton work his way through. Oh, and we got a battle for the lead for the first time this race. Look at this.
We do. Yeah, Carlos caught him, man. And I think getting through all this traffic has kind of helped. But yeah, Jansen has found the target.
And I'm a little bit surprised because Albrecht has really looked calm this race. He hasn't given us much reason to go and put the cameras on him. So as Jansen continues to try and chase him down to see if he can overtake him, let's see what the Scandinavian's got underneath him now that he is stuck behind the wake of that yellow Nissan up in P1. They've got very few worries behind them because it's a whole 6 seconds back to third place.
They got his car spinning in front of him, though. That's Buscemi that just went off.
He's trying to get the car going.
Yeah, Buscemi's been having an okay day in the Audis, and for a second there, I was worried that car was going to come right across the track in front of those two Nissans. Thankfully, it didn't. Stayed off in the grass.
Can only take so much of that curb at Tower, and Gregorio, I think, has discovered just how much is too much as he gets the car going once again. But it is not looking like it's handling well as he outbrakes himself into Jean Dembien. That 978 is struggling a little bit. Even in Le Mans, that was way off the apex. There's got to be something wrong with the car, the way it looked like it's driving. Boy, I tell you what, I didn't think we'd get that much lighting change, but it is getting pretty dark out there now.
It is, Joe.
Jansen working on our leader. Albrecht holds him off into turn 3. They just got by Stefan Schlacker, who pulls out of the way and lets them continue their battle. Backs it up now as Carl tries to regroup. See if there's another good opportunity somewhere around the lap where maybe he's a little stronger than that yellow Nissan. Just look at that beautiful sunset behind them, though, as they work their way now through Collier.
Okay, so in the what did you call this earlier? What time zone are we in now?
Virtual Standard Time.
Virtual Standard Time.
Yes,
Okay,
and that was coined Wednesday night by. I'm sorry, Joe. Help me. Who's responsible for VST?
Was that Nick? I think it was Nick.
Was it Nick?
No, I think it might have been Sam.
I think it was Sam. Yeah, Virtual Standard Time. There you go, Adam.
Okay, so all right, so now with the way that iRacing is doing this, with the time and everything else, and modeling it, they're taking real-world sunset, sunrise times, and we are in Virtual Standard Time. We're sitting at March 3rd, 2018. So sunset time on March 3rd, 2018 was 6:27 p.m. So we are looking at about another 36 minutes before the sun goes down below the horizon here. So we will have darkness fall upon Sebring today.
Interesting. Okay.
Good luck.
Long, uncomfortable pause.
As we're on board with Jansen, this battle's not gone away as we were discussing the science of the sun there. And on lap 18, he has been absolutely hounding him. Stefan Schlacker, in the meantime, with an early pit stop. Unusually early. I guess that car a little bit too damaged because he's definitely not at the 21 lap window that he mentioned to us. In the meantime, Wayne Hutchison, we see a little bit with an off track as the leaders go by. Oh, he had some help.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, and that's one of our front runners in the GTO class. Milan Arnozzi was having such a good race. This is another one where it looks like he outbraked himself.
Well, he did, Joe, and sometimes it gets a little tough to slow those Audis down, getting into the turn, and it just not enough brake there. Obviously doesn't want to spin himself around, doesn't want to jam on the brakes and upset his car, and got in a little bit too hot, unfortunately.
In those situations, is the car a real dog or is it a real bear?
Joe.
Sorry, couldn't help myself.
It's all right.
While that was going on
once
too, Kevin O'Keefe ended up having some contact. I believe it was with Carew of the Audis.
And there's a pass for the lead on screen between the Nissans, or is it going to be a switchback? Oh, he tries for it, but has to whoa the car up as Carl Jansen parks it at the apex, and he's able to pull away. I thought for sure that Albrecht was going to be able to pull that over-under.
They almost both wound up parked in the pits there. Boy, what a move by Jansen, and Albrecht trying to take it back here in the sunset.
Jansen got the stamp out. He sent it and made it stick. Look at this. That car, both of them absolutely sliding through the corner. These guys are on the edge. So now that he's passed him, he's certainly taking advantage of his pace. He's already 7/10 ahead of our former leader. The number 2 car has got some work to do. Down in the GTO class, we've been watching that battle between Neidhart and Albertinelli. Well, he's split that up a little bit. Instead, it looks like the Anvil is closing in on Mukanos a little bit. They work their way up towards Cunningham, braking hard. In fact, Neidhart looking very strong under the brakes as he closes in on the back of that Dirty Torque number 50. Sizing him up. He's able to rebuff the efforts of the Italian behind him. Let's see what he can do on the California driver, who currently sits in 4th, just ahead of him. Little wide down into Le Mans from Mukanos, but he's able to gun it off the corner. Nice and clean, but he still goes defensive. Certainly doesn't feel confident about that corner exit. Dennis follows him in the draft, and you can see it allows him to close in, but not close enough as they hit Sunset Bend. The bumpy corner once more, taking it all the way out to the edge of the track. And at this point, Neidhart is pressurizing him. Oh, we've had an incident farther back in the Nissans. Reverend Racing, the number 7, has Arjuna off track with a little bit of contact, it looks like, with Hideki Koivisto. Koivisto probably not aware that Miller car was going to stick his nose in because he was 2 cars back.
On board here with Arjuna, and he gets to the inside. There we go. Yeah, maybe Arjuna should have maybe lifted a little bit there. I don't know. Either way, it's unfortunate. Looks like he might have got a little lucky there. I don't see much damage picked up from that.
Yeah, it was the lightest of touches. So I think both cars are okay. Just maybe a slight code brown to shake them up for a moment. Number 103 currently running in 9th position. We've had a few DNFs today. Not many, thankfully, but unfortunately one of them was Stefan Schlacker. We've got in the booth now. Steph, you were fighting for a top 5 there for much of the race, and it seemed like the traffic just was not playing in your favor today.
Yeah. It was a bit of a weird start, getting a slowdown that just didn't want to get away, putting me back into the mix of this top 5, 6, 7. And then, yeah, that incident, turn 2, I don't know what Paul was thinking. They're taking it 3 wide. He then net-coded with me, sending me into Nick. I had to counter-steer, tried to get away from Nick while drifting it. Didn't quite happen. He then net-coded once again with me. And yeah, I had then some right rear wheel damage there, and yeah, better take it off the track than to endanger someone.
Yeah, I can understand that. But we've been paying close attention to the sunset and the lighting. It's often talked about that these Audis don't have headlights. If you would have still been out there, would you have any concerns about the time chosen? Do you think it'll be light enough come the checkered flag?
Honestly, it was getting already super dark when there was a cloud in front of the sun. So it could get interesting if there would be, like, if we go into the real later stages of this race and the cloud is right in front of the sun, then we might be able to not see anything anymore.
Well, commiserations on not seeing the checkered flag. We're going to get back to the racing and hope to see you more on the GSRC. In the meantime, we've got a battle here for 6th place. This is between Jamie Hall and Fabian Gerber, who's limping a damaged car around, Sean.
He is, and I think this is it right here. Hall just putting it on a limit there. Gerber not wanting to give it up here, obviously, Joe.
And that
hard there for Jean de Bien.
Yeah, he is. That tells you the kind of driver that Fabian is. Even with a damaged car, Jamie Hall, who is no slouch, is having trouble getting by. Now he's got a good straight line speed down the Ullman Straight. This could be the slam dunk that he was hoping for, but he runs out of time.
Yeah, ran out of straightaway. Hard to believe that you can run out of the Ullman Straight. It's so long.
Hall taking it all the way to the grass, though. Almost put his wheels in it. He's going to have to do a little bit better than that if he wants to stay on the back of that Blau-punked machine. And they're getting closer and closer to the point at which we expect they will be taking a pit stop soon. It's about 51 minutes left in the race. So they're nearly halfway at this point.
Joe, Timu is catching Ardo Yamaki. This has been a long process. As they get through traffic, though, the gap keeps coming down, and right now, Timu right practically on the gearbox here, getting through Jean de Bien and here to the Ullman Straight. I think Timu's got enough here for a good draft, and I don't know. Looks like Ardo tried to break it there just a bit. He moved to the inside. He gets a little draft off the car in front of him there. That was Kevin O'Keefe coming around. They go into sunset. And Timu not able to pick up much there.
As we were watching that, I think we had a pass between Koivisto and Barron. It was. Didn't quite catch this one. This was for 8th place. Where did this one take place? Down into turn 1. Oh, if it was in turn 1, that is brave stuff. Wow. And Koivisto was very shallow on entry, but he holds the inside line as it stays in his favor down into turn 3. And he completes the pass. Or does he? Wow. Koivisto is on it today.
Joe, I got to tell you, man. These skies, this lighting, the game changer. Oh, we got a big incident here, Gerber and Hall.
Oh, the second time we've seen Gerber involved with some damage. This time, a pass attempt around the outside of turn 1 went south, and Gerber made hard contact with the tires.
Yeah, he did. Hall fortunately doesn't make hard. He backs up into the wall, but it wasn't hard contact. He was already dealing with some damage, but we're going to go on board with Jamie here across the start-finish line down into turn 1.
And, excuse me, I called that wrong. It was Jamie Hall looking to the inside, not Gerber looking to the outside there. So Hall gets it going once again, and so does Gerber, but Gerber's now in 7th place. He is ahead of Hall.
Which Hall's going to make easy work of him here. I mean, that car, with as tore up as it is and the kind of contact he had, has to be not driving straight anymore. And he won't have the top speed, particularly down the Ullman Straight, where I think that's really going to hurt him. But very significant damage on that Nissan, both in bodywork and it has to be some suspension in there as well.
I'm sure he's looking forward to getting into the pits, get a little bit of that repaired, as he's going to be overtaken by another, or is this a lapped car getting by him? Oh, that is for position. Tapani Lindelowoto now moves up into 8th. Meanwhile, Kevin O'Keefe comes in. This might be a scheduled stop, but he is dealing with damage, remember?
And you got to wonder if some of that might be required to sit in there, take some extra time.
That could be. I'm a bit surprised today. We're used to seeing the Finnish drivers, especially in the Nissans, be incredibly fast out here, but they're not performing as well as we're used to seeing. Not sure if the slightly longer time is proving to throw them off. Fabian Gerber, as you can see, is now coming in to get some of that repair.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I don't think I've ever been in one of these Kamel GT races and not had Tapani somewhere in the top 3.
Oh, Albertinelli, an awkward spot coming through Sunset. He does get the car rolling. Thankfully, nobody gets into him. This can be tough. Oh, he was trying to duck to the inside.
Yeah, he makes a little bit of contact with Lawrence Coleman. Coleman able to survive that and keep going.
And Albertinelli's had a few offs. I mean, he's had a few problems here today.
Seen it from Albertinelli's view. If it weren't for that wall to the inside, I think he would have been able to get that going once again straight, but it tipped him the rest of the way around. We got some information from the Peanut Gallery. The Audi did not run the endurance events in 1989 when this car competed. Oh, Toyka.
Oh, no.
With some problems.
Yeah, Joe, big problems. In turn 1.
That was Take Him, who was on the outside of turn 1. You're going to see from Toyka's point of view, had to kind of take evasive action and just hitting some bumps that he wasn't used to, it looks like. Got it turned around.
I think you're all
he turns it
over
around
there.
again after that, too.
Yeah, he goes right down to turn 2, and you're right, Adam. As he gets back going again, he gets down into turn 2, and he spins it again.
Well, what was looking like maybe he could get up to the podium is going to be a lot harder for Toyka now. I can report that Rob Olenek has come into the pits. And by the way, Fabian Gerber has been in for quite a long time now, so clearly trying to get rid of some of that damage on the car. You can see him behind Olenek, still taking repairs. And I've been kind of keeping an eye on this, but look at the GTO lead. Thompson has been caught by Phil Lake. He's been gaining on him for a while. Now he's actually taking a look on the lead. That gap. Oh, as he gets into him, Riley Thompson gets turned around. And as Phil Lake, he's trying to pause to let him get back by, but is that going to allow another car through? They've got a huge gap on Arnozzi. Look at that great sportsmanship. Lake wants to try and do this legit, so he lets him through. You can watch it one more time on the replay here from Lake's perspective. And just like the back of the car said, he tried to hashtag send it, and it did not quite work out. Nice job by Lake to let him back through.
In Albrecht here, your second place in Nissans just had contact with Lawrence Coleman. I don't think Coleman knew he was there, and dinged up the right rear quarter panel on that Nissan just a little bit.
And even before that, it looks like Albrecht is missing the front clip of the car. Okay. I know you were pointing that out.
Yeah. You know, just because sometimes the way things work is, looking there on the replay, you can see Coleman coming down on him and then kind of getting shoved out of the way. It was he had a brief off getting around an Audi just a little while ago. When he came back on track, the front clip just kind of disappeared. Now, the thing about that is, though, is I'm not seeing it really reflected in his lap times yet. So I bet if we watch that a little bit, I bet that clip comes back.
He's coming around now. Let's see what his time comes in at. He takes the lead back as Carl Jansen goes in the pit. And that, that was a 1:48.2.
which considering he had some lap traffic, I mean, that's still pretty good. His pit road's getting busy.
Very busy because Iamaki unfortunately had to woe up to not run into the back of Mike Kopak, who was entering a little bit slower than he would have liked. There are no pit limiters on these cars, as they did not have them back in 1989. So there's Koivisto coming in. The number 67 as well is in. This seems to be the time that most drivers have found to be the most advantageous. Yep. We had our leader in the GTP class, Carl Jansen, has hit his pit stall, which does hand the lead to the front, the noseless Justin Albrecht.
Yeah, and Jansen should be just about done. In fact, he's rolling. Jansen's out.
And that's going to return him in 4th place. Most of the Nissans getting a little bit spread apart now, finding their own little bit of track. Wonder if the pit stops could switch that around slightly. Jansen getting a little brave with the curbs. These Nissans not known for liking that.
Yeah, you don't want to you don't want to wrap them too hard.
Past halfway now in this race. Both Lake and Thompson have come in, and Lake is ahead of Thompson. Was there a second pass that we missed? This one seemingly successful.
And Albrecht really seems off the pace. I'm wondering if he tried to go a lap too far. I mean, he's only going 120 miles an hour down the Ullman here.
Yeah, he's in now.
Yeah, there we go. So coming around Sunset, he's going to make his way down pit road, and I think he tried to push it one lap too far.
I went back and did some research on Thompson. He actually made a mistake on his own into turn 1 a couple laps ago and almost lost the car. That allowed Phil Lake through. This time, he elected not to give it back since that one was fair game. Both of them are now out of their pit stalls. So with Albrecht in, where is Jansen right now? He's not going to re-inherit the lead because I believe, Toyka is in. And actually will inherit the lead because Emerton is now coming in.
All right, they've put the front nose back on Albrecht's car.
Just to give you an idea of the in times, Jansen's in time, in lap time was 1:56. Albrecht's was 2:08. So he's going to lose significant time here to Jansen, as we're already seeing.
Well, not only that, he's just now coming out, and he's got Ardo Iamaki looking like he might be able to come by. Timo Toyka close behind them as well. We now have a fight for 2nd place.
Oh, boy. Iamaki really was nailing it there through 1 and closed right up on Albrecht so quick.
I don't think he's going to sit around in this 3rd place for very long. The good news for Albrecht is that he got some of that damage repaired, so he should be at least relatively back up the pace as he takes a peek down into the hairpin, but nothing doing for the Finn. Riding on board the 007 cam.
That's a nice little Dougie Beard camera there.
We have deemed that one the 007 cam.
I like it. Cue music. Cue music, director.
Because license.
Yep,
Yeah,
I can't afford that one.
Minor details.
Oh, and did something happen to Kevin O'Keefe? He's off out of the hairpin. This was all his own doing, it looks like. He was ahead of Koivisto. Oof, absolutely sliding it through the corner, and Hideki gets a front row view. Not gonna lie, I know we try not to make too much of a big deal out of the new graphics and the sunset, but just the sunset gleaming off of the roof of Hideki's car just looked so perfect.
Yeah, it's just, I was going to try and say this before when I stepped on you, Joe. This is a game changer. the sim changer, whatever you want to call it. But I'm serious, man. The way this sim looks now, it's be cliche, whatever. It's night and day, man. It's totally in a matter of a week. It is changed immensely in the matter of a week. We've got something really, really cool to look at.
Lon doesn't have a whole lot to look at right now because he is currently leading the race, but he's yet to take his pit stop. Remember, he was in second and lost that earlier. Let's see if he comes in this time by out of Sunset. Nope, going to stay out. He's currently leading. Nick Mukanos also yet to take his stop. Highest pitter is Phil Lake, who should inherit the lead, still about a second ahead of Thompson.
One thing I'm noticing with these cars, I mean, tire wear is playing a role here a little bit today. So you have to wonder what the gains are right now for Milan to stay out there, other than, of course, not having to take as much fuel. And I've got to talk to my source there, guys, because I was told the pit window for the Audis was going to be 21 laps, and here's Milan. I mean, he's going to be coming in on maybe on 28 or 29.
I think that was the opening of the pit window, so I'm not... he's probably getting close to the end of it now. So as we watch our nosy... Oh, and do we have a moment with Lawrence Coleman, or was that coming out from a pit stop? That was from a pit stop. Oh, and Coivisto took a tow. He's in the pits now.
The Hideki contact with Kevin O'Keefe, actually. They were, where are they coming through there? I think it was turn 5. Coming out of 5, they make contact, maybe going into Big Bend.
And he blew an engine. You see there, he hit the wall so hard, it just immediately blows up. What's the Finnish words for why me?
Maybe Stefan should have stuck around a little longer.
I'm sure the peanut gallery will chime in. Oh man, that is gutting for Hideki, because he was having a good race out there.
It really was,
and that's the day done.
And I'm sorry, I was on the wrong end of the track. That actually happened in Jean de Bien, setting up there for Le Mans.
Our nosy is making his way down pit road.
All right, Bobcat Racing Machine trundles down, looks for his stall, and that's going to hand the lead over to Dennis Neidhart temporarily. So this one I'm curious about, Sean, because I've heard you mention it before. Where did the nickname The Anvil come from?
Okay, all right, got to go.
Now, hold on, is this PG rated?
Yeah, no, totally PG rated. Yeah, and I got to go old school wrestling fanboy here. Jim The Anvil Neidhart. A very, very popular Minnesota wrestler who came into the mainstream sometime in the, I want to say early, mid-'80s, probably 82, 83, sometime around then when Hulk Hogan was making his rise. And he was always a heel, generally known as a heel, and a member of the Hart Foundation, the very infamous Hart Foundation.
Sorry, we got to go to Justin Albrecht right now. He just had a spin.
Oh, boy.
In turn 1, he was fighting with Timu Toika, and he nearly got taken out as well because Riley Thompson in second place just squeaked through.
How did Riley Thompson miss this? Watch the replay here, folks. Wow. I think he just loses the grip here, Joe.
Yeah, he is so shallow here. The car just gets out from underneath him, and it overcorrects. Woo-hoo. Man, it looked like Thompson thought that he was going to have to go to the outside, and then last second he saw that car whip back across. Wow. Well, it's a good thing that the stars are about to come out, because I think he's going to have to thank his lucky ones. Looks like one of our Finns have chimed in. Mixie Mina is why me?
I think so. I think so. I'm gonna roll with Ossian on that.
I'm hoping that's clean and we're not being trolled here. So if we just swore in Finnish, I apologize. As we take a look at another Finn out there, Ardo Iamaki, currently leading his fellow Finn, Teemu Toika. This is still a close fight between these two.
It is. Oh, Toika runs it out wide there into the grass. You've got to be so careful on that exit of Sunset. That grass can be a race ender. Oh, man. Ardo just squeezing by Andrea.
Momentum, but only just slid.
Albertinelli there almost making contact with both of them as Toika and Iamaki rolled through there.
So,
yeah, that of course with Albertinelli there, his race has not been kind of a race that he's wanted to have. So I mean, I'm pretty sure he was nervous here. He didn't want to mess up a battle between second and third in the Nissans if the back end was to break loose on him again or something.
And I think we had Franco Scurry complete his pit stop. Yep, here you can see the number 28 getting to the cones and accelerating away. So back to Toika. You go ahead, Sean.
Someone in the chat just said the lights will turn on soon. One of the comments I wanted to make earlier is what's your favorite time of day to watch a race at Sebring?
Right now, getting into twilight.
I like watching when they get into the night, because there are no lights at Sebring. It's really, really oddly lit track. It was never really intended for.
What's happened to Leno Luoto here? Saw him having off. This looks like the hairpin. Well, looks like he was battling with the car of Alosa Groton, who we haven't really seen much of. Is a little bit wide, and off the track he goes. And the anvil is in.
By the way, I hadn't gotten any feedback from him. Not sure if he's approved the nickname.
Depends on how old he is, I guess.
That's true.
So can't get away from this battle, though. Iamaki and Toika fighting for the second and third spot on the podium. And Iamaki's got himself a little bit more breathing room than what we saw before, thankfully. They work their way through the hairpin. It is 6:20 virtual standard time right now, getting ever closer to that sun hitting the horizon.
So many songs come to mind, Joe.
Such as?
Don't let the sun go down on me.
Oh, jeez. Now I'm going to have Elton John's song stuck in my head for the rest of the night.
Well, these drivers just want to have fun. The sun goes down on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Hey, could Saturday night be all right for fighting? I mean, just asking for a friend.
So as Teemu Toika still hunting down Ardo Iamaki, staying within the slipstream, down the Ullman straight into Sunset Bend. Got a little traffic up ahead of him. That's Callum Barron. Sits in 10th. Oh, he's in a little bit of a bad spot. Definitely interrupts the momentum of Iamaki. They're going to go 3 wide, duck into the outside. Goes Toika. Can he get it done around turn 1? This has caused some problems when they're offline for some of these cars. He holds it around the outside, fit Teemu into P2.
Boy. How long did it take him to make that pass?
Quite a few laps.
Wow, yeah. Oh boy.
And right away, he has a moment coming out of turn 5, and he gives it right back up. Can't defend as they come down into turn 7. The hairpin hands it back to Iamaki once again. As all this has been happening, we haven't talked a whole lot about the GTO class because Phil Lake has re-inherited the lead and significantly has pulled away from second place Riley Thompson. Despite a very good first stint, it looks like the Total Downforce Racing car does not have the pace to seal the deal.
And for what it's worth, what lights are at Sebring look like they just kicked on.
I noticed that as well. I was seeing some shadows from the bridge coming up to the hairpin.
That Musco light system engaging. You can hear the buzz around the track.
Do you actually know the brand name?
I do.
Oh, Musco's famous, man.
Yes.
I guess I'm the one out of the loop.
Okay, Sean, do you know where they're based out of?
Kansas City?
I want to say it's Iowa.
Okay. You might be
wrong,
all over
though.
that.
But it's like, I figured that was worth asking.
You spend enough time at ballparks or racetracks over the years, you kind of see that name just slapped all over the place.
And look at this battle starting to get closer once again. Even though he lost the position, Toika's not giving up on it. He is staying right within the tire tracks of Iamaki. And the more these two fight, the more they are losing ground to our leader, Carl Jensen. We don't have to go to him, but he has pulled away to about 15 seconds ahead of them. Down into the hairpin once more. Iamaki looking strong under braking, trying to get the power down to see if he can give himself an opportunity up to Cunningham.
Really seems like he's going for a whole slow in, fast out strategy, which, it's typical with these Nissans, but, he's not pulling away from Toika like I thought he might, particularly through the slow section. So I think if Toika's going to get him, it's going to be on the backside of the track. Oh, it looks like he slides a little bit.
Oh, and because of where it happens, Toika is not able to take advantage, but a big bobble coming out of tower for Iamaki puts them even closer. Toika can't quite do anything into Jean Debian. Let's see if he sets himself up for the exit of Le Mans, though. The Ullman Straight providing a great opportunity typically, but a good exit off that right-hander means Iamaki is going to be safe for now. And you can start to see the headlights of the cars on the track as well.
Joe, these guys still have 15 laps here to get in as they cross the line. And what a battle we've got going on between the two. No pit stop needed going forward. Expect the next 15 laps to be intense.
Well, we might need a second stop for the Audis so that the pit crews can duct tape some flashlights to the cars the way things are going. This is looking a little bit, I think, what was it, Korea 2013 or something like that for F1, where the race got very, very dark at the end. As they go around the Audi of Michael Carew, this battle for second that we've been following. This is the closest battle on track that we've got right now between both of the classes. These two have raced against each other a lot, Sean. They are very familiar with each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now, how many seasons have we seen these two? Especially in the Nissan, this is their car of choice. Unlike some other drivers who've decided to mix it up and change over. We've had a couple here in the field today. They're switching over from their normal ride, but boy, old trouble there for Iamaki. Ooh.
That was Lawrence Coleman, who is just kind of in a bad place at a bad time. We haven't talked about that a whole lot. The difference between the Nissans and the Audis going through Bishop, which is where that happened.
Kind of getting through there on a prayer through Bishop, huh?
Nice one.
I did it.
Yeah, Bishop, very marginal for those GTO cars. Have to use the whole track, which is why we saw the GTP cars of Toika and Iamaki go all the way wide, because they knew that Audi was going to have a tough time trying to hold to the inside. Meanwhile, another battle is starting to get a little bit closer. They just went by John Keefe, but Nick Bukanos and Milan Arnozzi going to fight for the last spot on the podium. John Keefe still struggling to try to work his way by through Cunningham. Stays patient. Now going to sneak to the inside, but this is going to put Arnozzi a little bit offline through Tower. And Lucanos catches back up. right on board with the number 50 of Mukanos. Still hounding Milan Arnozzi. We're going to get overtaken now by Kevin O'Keefe. Or will they? O'Keefe obviously struggling a little bit for top end. And he's going to get both of them just in time through sunset. Haven't missed anything of the battle with P2 for GTPs. That stays in the same position as we continue to watch these two here for P3 and the GTO class. We have Janssen hitting the pits. This was our leader.
Well, okay. I think he had a problem. He's got damage.
Oh, yes. It was about a minute ago. It was, coming into Jean Debienne.
It was, and he slides all the way through Jean Debienne and straight into the wall. Oh, man. We've got a replay here.
Just so you guys know, too, Olenek is off, too, in P5.
Oh, no.
We're going to see it here after Bishop. Too much of the curb. You can't take them in the Nissans, and the Radicals online driver cut it a little bit too hard.
And then Olenek, I'm sorry, Joe, Olenek follows up with a problem in the same spot, but it wasn't because of the car. It was another car getting into the Audi of Michael Carew. Here we go. It is on the replay now.
And I know we've been doing a lot of replays here, but we just missed a pass for the lead between Toika and Iamaki. Let's see Olenek here.
It's Jean Debienne. It's when he gets to Jean Debienne is where the trouble happens for Olenek here. We'll go ahead and roll it through here. My bad. I didn't call that out properly there for our director. You see where Olenek gets in the back of Carew there, and then he noses it off into the wall. So heavy front end damage for the Dirty Torque driver. That drops him back to P6 right now, Joe.
And we've got pass for the lead here. This is down into Cunningham. Brave stuff. Wonder if they know by this point if it's for the lead. Toika seems to be eager to get through, and he does it. He is now stretched away to about 7/10. So what was a battle for P2 has jumped up a notch because Janssen is still, well, he's back out, but he's down to 7th.
Yeah, and I'd say any chance of wrapping up a win here is slipped away from him after having to take that second stop and get some repair for damage.
Here, I honestly did not think that Timu was in it for the win on this one, but you got to take what you can get, and right now he is looking very good with only a few laps left to go to take away all the marbles in the GTP class. Oh, and Paul Ilbrink banging doors right now, almost loses the car. Rob Olenek, the Dirty Torque driver, racing a little bit dirty here as the two of them get their elbows out. At the inside, Ilbrink trying to hold his line. Some of the bumps sending Olenek slightly wide, and you could watch this from on board. Wow.
Hip check.
And while that's going on, you got Toika and Imake fighting their way through the leaders right now in the Audis. Well, second and third anyway, who are in a battle of their own. It got a little hairy there for a few minutes, but it seems like it's calming down now as those Nissans cleared the Audis.
Yep, it just went by our nosy. Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say they got it finished right at the end of the Ullman Straight there, going into sunset and able to clear and get back to their battle.
Well, I tell you what, Carl Janssen's going to have some fun here in a moment because he's catching up to Paul Ilbrink, who we just saw in that battle with Olenek, which means Olenek is not that far up ahead. And while positions after that are going to be a lot more difficult. I don't think that we're going to see this number 92 stay in 7th place for very long. Now that he's got that damage repair, he is certainly flying around this track. That's his teammate there, Ilbrink, in the fellow Radicals car, who goes wide as they split the car of Lawrence Coleman. Oh, and he almost loses it. Paul Ilbrink not having fun in Sunset Bend here in the final stages of today. I hope Coleman is streaming his onboard because he's seen some incredible stuff today.
Boy, hasn't he?
Let's watch from Coleman's point of view ourselves. One car, and then 2 cars. Oh my God. He's, I don't think Coleman's a regular in Camel GT, is he? I'm trying to remember if we see him.
I don't recall his name, to be honest with you. I really don't.
He's getting thrown into the deep end right now.
Yes.
And a second stop for Krejcik, I believe, happening. We haven't shown Martin very much today.
Maybe that's a good thing for Martin, actually. I know. Well, he's probably not the reason.
They're taking the hammers to the car. You can see stuff's getting bent back into shape, and he's back out now. Oh, that was very brief. I wonder if maybe he just didn't refuel it enough in the first stop. That was real quick, so I'm guessing that's a splash and dash here in these final 10 laps.
Did Joe just confirm the pit road member hammer model 3.0 coming soon?
Well, these aren't carbon fiber, are they? They're I want to say that these are sheet metal on these cars, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're some sort of sheet metal composite or something like that, maybe aluminum or something.
Yeah, so you take the sledgehammer to it, get it back in shape.
Get that nice baseball bat, in between the fenders. Just get some clearance.
Let's go to 5th place here.
Jensen and Olenek here.
They just took it. Oh, but they got a car that's a little bit out of whack ahead of them. That's Mike Kopak. That could offer an opportunity. That's the yellow and white machine is Mike's. He gets it going once again just in time. He's trying to figure out which way to put the car, as now Jansen is going to try to put a lap on him. All right, so that drama is over now. So we missed, unfortunately, both of the passes for Jansen. He overtook Ilbrink, and he overtook... Well, I guess we saw the one on Ilbrink on screen. Just caught the end of Olenek. Meanwhile, Kane Lasky and Tae Kim looking like they are having a battle start to come together. Let's ride on board with Lasky here for a lap and see what he can do to try to close down on the driver of Tae Kim. The Canadian is holding down P7. Hasn't shown up a lot on this broadcast, but he's certainly running pretty well.
Having a pretty good day / night here at Sebring. Not quite night yet. Look at that sky. You can't talk about it enough.
Close it in under braking. I tell you what, Lasky looks a lot stronger than Tay right now.
We can stay with this for the moment, finish out the lap, but Toyka just had a heart attack moment. Kevin O'Keefe ended up, breaking loose right in front of him.
And something's happened to Martin Krejcik because he's been back in the pits again. And I'm not entirely sure what.
Yeah, something's wrong there. He's either having a technical issue or, maybe a hardware issue, or maybe he's having a sim issue. Maybe something's hit him that we're not aware of that's caused him to come back in again.
Meanwhile, weaving their way around Sunset Bend. Lasky still not able to overtake him, even though he is looking like he's got the legs on him. Number 34 still searching for a way by. And Timu Toika's moment. Let's take a look at that on the replay. Need to jump back just a little bit farther here. Coming up to the hairpin. Look how quickly he catches up to him under braking. Woo! And he's gone. So Kevin O'Keefe gets it back out on track. In the meantime, for a moment, Take-Him had to deal with Ardo Iamaki, the second-place driver behind Toika. Let him by. That held him up briefly, but Kane Lasky was not able to take advantage of it. Down to 8 laps to go. And it might look decently bright on our broadcast here, but we can tell you that is some of us trying to make sure that you can see everything that's happening out on track. It is getting quite a bit darker than what you see on screen out there.
Yeah, our director doing a little TV magic for everyone here to just make this a little bit more enjoyable from a viewer standpoint.
In the real world, we'll call that upping the iris.
Yes. Maybe he's playing with the ISO. So as we watch from onboard Take-Him, that looked like a decent exit there from Lasky, but he's once again running out of room down the Ullman straight. It's going to switch back to the pit straight. Look at him close in under braking, though. All he needs to do is gun it off the corner well, and he does. Can this be the time down into turn 1? It's not a whole lot of braking. I don't think he's quite close enough.
I don't know if anyone's noticed. Take-Him in the oddly unnumbered car. We know by our readout it's number 3, but and Albrecht coming, throwing it up in there. Talk about send it. Oh boy.
Yeah. Albrecht's up to 3rd now. We missed that in all this action. He's on the podium. Now he's a long ways back from Iamaki, we should point out.
You got to think that he might be seeing a little bit of red, because if it wasn't for his mistake earlier on in this race, he would be in the lead right now, most likely, after what happened. So he's trying to get every little tenth of a second he can right now.
You know, I didn't even notice it until you said something, Sean. I don't think I've ever seen that where a driver's just set everything to black on their car so that there's no number, no anything.
Well, you know, of course, iRacing's got the option. You can do that in a test session. You can take the numbers off the car in a test session, but not in an official race session. So, but yeah, he just blacked out the numbers. So,
well, he's got to be careful if he tries to drive that thing home. I mean, he's not allowed to do that.
So you know what we could do is just animate a little red bar right in the grill that goes back and forth. He could be the Audi Knight Rider.
Oh no! No!
I like the idea.
Yeah,
I'm
for this as well.
There in the passenger seat.
We're getting loopy, folks.
Well, and this might be a bad choice of colors for him, because we can really see how dark it's getting now.
He's running in stealth, man.
Yeah, he's a completely black car. This was a bad choice. He's only got to do it for 6 more laps.
I think it's a bad choice. Maybe it was a good choice for him. Bad for his opponents trying to find him on track.
This is true.
Hey, Joe, you know who we haven't talked about in like forever? When did we talk about Richie Hearn last? Have we brought Richie up at all during the broadcast? You know, he is still in this race. He's still running out there, sitting in P29 overall right now, but Richie's actually kept the car out of trouble, picked up a few spots, and I know it's not a car we're used to seeing him in, but I'd say that's pretty good run for him.
I would agree. I mean, especially with some of the attrition that we've seen out there today, it's not been horribly bad, but there's something to be said for the Dory Award.
he has had a few offs. I mean, it hasn't been a perfect race for him by any stretch of the imagination, but you guys said, I mean, he's learning a new car here. I mean, it isn't something he runs all the time, and you know, compared to some of the regulars, I mean, he's up there mixing it up with them. So overall, good day for Richie.
Meanwhile, on screen, the gap between Phil Lake and Riley Thompson has come down slightly. Now, it's not incredibly close. Phil Lake still has a little bit of wiggle room, but we've seen the traffic can play a part in that. It's about 2.2 seconds from Lake to Thompson. And behind them, could have some action between Arnozzi and Mukanos. And actually, that's going to change positions because Arnozzi looking a little bit slow with Mukanos stuck into the inside of Cunningham. He gets it done, makes it stick, and moves himself onto the podium. I just have to wonder, some of these guys tiptoeing a little bit with how dark it's getting out there. Boy, textbook maneuver. Although they're having a bit of a headache between Lena Luoto and I think that's Kopak. Yes, not battling for positions, but trying to get by these two without interrupting their battle too badly. I tell you what, if you have a teammate who's not in the race, Sean, and you're an Audi,
Yeah.
a teammate in the Nissan, maybe say, hey, can you hang out behind me, just beside me or something for a lap? Need your headlights or something.
Need you to spot for me. All right, we do have an interesting situation going on track, actually. Krajcik is chasing John Keefe. Now, that's not for position, but what's going on now is Toyka is catching up to him. It's catching up to him quick. It looks like Keefe is going to let Krajcik go around just before they got into sunset, and they're flashing lights back at each other right now, having a little bit of fun. But again, the problem is that Toyka is coming through, and it'll be interesting to see how these two react with the leader coming through. And he looks like he's probably going to catch him here, probably somewhere out of this complex, and maybe down into Big Bend or into the hairpin.
Now, what exactly is Keefe? He continued to flash at him. I'm not entirely sure what that was about. So
I think they've just trying to occupy themselves here in the closing laps of the race.
All right, Teemu Toyka, as you mentioned, coming up very quickly, and they're starting to separate a little bit, so I think he should be able to pick them off one by one. And we should point out that Teemu has about 5 seconds over Ian Maki, so he's got some breathing space. He's going to get one right there down into Cunningham as John Keefe lets him through. Meanwhile, Kay and Lasky, or excuse me, Kim and Lasky.
Take him.
Trying to make this one stick. And just a little bit of wheels off into the dirt. It's going to give him the inside down into turn 3. Lasky not able to complete the pass. And just behind them, look at how quickly Carl Jansen comes up behind. We got a spinner somewhere. Trying to figure out.
I'm not sure, Joe.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him. Down to 4 laps to go now. It is currently 6:47 virtual standard time. You can just barely see the hint of the sun up on the horizon, giving a little bit of light. Third place between Arnozzi and Mukanos, and the GTOs getting close together, if they can even see each other out on track.
You know, that actually might be a good time to hop on board McConis here and see just how much he can see out in front of us. He's going to try to make the move.
Bad exit off the hairpin from Alarn Arnozzi. Nick Mukanos manages to get through. And once again, Mukanos back onto the podium. These two have been swapping back and forth.
That gives you a good feel how dark it is too. While
He's
that
not
move is
seeing
being
much.
made.
He's not seeing much.
Yeah, they do have reflectors on the side of the track, mercifully. That at least gives you an idea of where to go.
Oh, McConaughey is loose. He's off.
And that might be all she wrote in terms of Mukano's hoping to get a
Oh,
podium
yeah,
as he pulls out in front of the car of Alo Sagrotan.
Oh, man. I was right on that. I was actually following Sagrotan there as he was getting through, Joe. He never saw him. Plain and simple, he just doesn't see him until late.
And can we get an onboard of John Keefe as well? Because watch John Keefe's perspective of this, because he comes up at the end of it as both cars are trying to recover, and he absolutely threads the needle. See some smoke.
Yeah, amazing.
We've come back live. Well, I'd say it's safe to say that Milan Arnozzi is now going to take home that third place unless he makes a major error. He was under threat for a while. And speaking of under threat, we talked about the lead closing in. Well, it's gone back up. It's now about 3 seconds between Lake and Thompson. I think the event organizers are jotting down a few notes after this one. Probably going to go to Daytona, maybe Charlotte.
Maybe they just missed it by that much on the time. Saying, Joe.
This is our leader in the GTP class. Timu Toika, he's got about 5.5 seconds now. He's got some traffic in front of him. This is Kopak, Barron, and Buscemi.
It was a mess. There it was. It had great potential for being one.
It just works his way through, splits the cars, and now he's going to get Gregorio. There we go. That's actually a pass for position behind as the Audis battle. Barron trying his best to overtake the number 978, but ran out of track on the inside of Sunset Bend. White flag is now out.
I'm sure some of these drivers are very thankful to see that right now, Joe.
Absolutely. Timu Toika. He started this race in 6th position, proving once again in this 90-minute contest, it's not necessarily about your one-lap pace. It is about the entirety of the race. Who gets to that checkered flag at the end? And while it may not be over yet, and he may have about half a lap to go with a 7-second lead over the 195, I'd say that he could pretty much cruise his way to the finish. We have a pretty close finish between our two classes as he's coming up on Phil Lake, our leader in the GTO.
Just got by Riley Thompson there.
This has been a absolutely commendable race for Timu Toika. Now he goes by our GTO leader as Richard Hearn pulls off and lets them through. That's Luis Emerton just ahead of our overall leader. He's going to let him by as well, it looks like, not interested in doing an extra lap around in the darkness. They call him Fat Timu. Today, I think he's earned the other nickname, Fit Timu, because what a race to take the win here in the SimSport News 300K at Sebring, as well for Phil Lake wins in the GTO class, down in the number 99 car.
Yeah, watching Barron and Albertinelli are still going at it, Joe.
That, oh, wow. How can these guys see?
They can't.
This is a battle for 10th position, top 10. They've lost touch a little bit on Buscemi.
The Anvil just gets by Mucanos.
And is that as well for position?
Yes,
Definitely for position.
The Anvil's going to get P4. Nice job.
Right on the last lap, Callum manages to keep Albertinelli behind as well after overtaking him.
We're going to replay it. Trust us, there's cars on the track, folks. Look at the white wheels. Follow the white wheels. That's actually who got passed. You see there the Neidhart making that move and then getting the P4 finish for it. What a great drive by Neidhart today, man. That is a day well done.
A night well done, you could say.
Yeah, night well done.
But we are going to close up for a moment. We'll be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. On screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but stick around for the post-race show here on GSRC. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. The sun has set in virtual standard time, but we've rewound the clock so that you can see something out here as we do the post-race show. And the winner here today, after 90 minutes, after 300 kilometers in the GTP class, is the Team Bushfink Racing Red of Timu Toika, coming from 6th on the grid. He had to fight hard because Artem Iamaki thought he was going to fight him for second. It turned out to be a battle for the lead after an error from Janssen earlier on. Iamaki did still finish in second place. And how about Albrecht? Our pole sitter's got to be a little bit disappointed, but he did finish on the podium with a third place in that number 2 car. Jamie Hall, we didn't really talk about him much at the end, but, he got a 4th place, and that's something worth respecting, as it is not easy in the talent that he had around him. It was the driver who we thought was going to have the win easily, Carl Jansen, who only managed a top 5, but it was his own mistake that cost him that win late in the race. Rob Olenek finishes in 6th behind him, and then they've got Paul Ilbrink taking 7th. In 8th, it was Tapani Linuluoto with the SimSport News Mercedes of Luis Emerton taking 9th. And Sean, behind him, his fellow SimSport News driver of John Keefe, rounds out the top 10.
All right, Joe, and we will go on down to P11, and that's where you're going to find James King and his team, Bushfink Racing Yellow Ride, and followed there by the Fresh Blancpain run of Fabian Gerber, who had his trouble early, and we documented a tough day there for Fabian. And Eyeline Racing, there Martin Krajcik finishing with a P13. Team Mike Kopak going to finish 14th today. And then Kevin O'Keefe, why me? Number 629, going to finish there in P15. We'll go down to the GTOs, and that's going to be Phil in and around the lake there. Dirty Torque Lake winning the race today. Total Downforce Racing just behind him there. Riley Thompson. Bobcat Racing's Milan Arnozzi taking home the end of the podium there. P3. X-Batch Racing, Dennis the Anvil Neidhart. A great P4 run for him. Dirty Torque. Nick Mucanos, the Californian, comes home in 5th. Team Audi Sport Italia, our old friend Franco Skirti, with a 6th place run. And now we will pass it off to you, Adam, for the rest.
Yeah. And Kane Lasky, of course, going home there, halfway decent finish, lead lap on the Audis. And one of our retirees, as far as the Nissans, that would be Alois Sergotin. And we saw what happened there right at the end of the race. Reverend Racing Team Duct Tape. Appropriate name here today, guys. Team Duct Tape coming home 24th. Simi coming home 25th. BB Racing 26th. Albert Nelly coming home 27th. And then Ray Partridge in the Dog Bear Racing Machine coming home 28th, 2 laps off the pace in the Audi, and followed behind him by Richie Hearn in the Elite West Racing Machine. East Coast Motorsports coming home in 30th. I believe that was Coleman. And in 31st, I'll pass it off to Joe.
That would be Michael Carew finishing in that position, with Hideki Koivisto being our first DNF, I believe, in 32nd. Then Reverend Racing's Arjuna Kankapati in 33rd, with Thomas Delmuth finishing 34th, Wayne Hutchison 35th, Stefan Schlacker 36th, and Hayden Pastorius 37th. Dave Walsh could have been a good day for him, but going from 2nd on the grid down to 38th. And then we had 2 did not starts. With ROR Performance and Raider Racing. With that, we have some of our interviewees ready and here to talk to, including our winner overall. It's Teemu Toika with the win from 6th on the grid. That is some feat, Teemu. At what point did you realize that your battle with Arto Iamaki was going to be for the win?
I heard Carl pitting, and I saw him before the pits, like losing a lot of seconds, and I guess he got killed by the death bounce. And to be honest, the death bounce nearly had me at a few points, but I somehow managed to overcome those.
Now, this is obviously the first time that this series has gotten to run a race going from day to night. A little bit easier for you guys in the GTO class, but thoughts now that you've gotten to experience the Nissan going from sunny out to completely almost pitch black?
Yeah, it was definitely something different. I last experienced that at the R-Factor in endurance events, but that was like maybe 5 years ago, and yeah, it was definitely interesting, and I think it made a lot of difference in the end, definitely with the track temperature changing, and I felt that my setup felt pretty good now that the sun had set and temperature had lowered a bit.
Now, this one obviously doesn't count for points, but You have to say that this is something of a psychological boost coming into the next season. What does this tell you going into 2019 season one for the VCR championship? Are you not even going to think about it, just take it as it comes? Or do you think, I could maybe win a championship here?
Well, that's what I thought last season with the Road America 500, but the season was definitely below my expectations, and I got badly. Some bad luck happened during that season, and I think I'll just try to do my best and try not to set out to win. Just do my own.
Well, that sounds like a decent plan. Regardless, congratulations on winning here today. I'd almost forgotten that you also won at Road America. Hope to see you when we do another one of these Week 13 events.
Yep, hope to see you.
That was Teemu Toika, winner in the GTP class. Sean has caught up to our winner in the GTOs. Phil, in and around the lake.
I have. Phil, congratulations. I got to ask the obvious question. You guys knew you didn't have any headlights. What was that like there in the, I don't know, the last 15 laps of the race?
Yeah, that got fun towards the end. I tested it in the week on 8 times sun speed, and it was fine for at least quarter of an hour after the race. And then when I think we had like 4 or 5 laps to go, and I was thinking, this is getting really dark now.
Yeah, we had Take Him out there in a black car with a black number on it, so you couldn't see anything on that car. Yeah, it really made things kind of sketchy. We saw a couple of incidents there late with the Nissans getting into the Audis, but man, you obviously found the way around here and the speed. What was the secret today, Phil?
I knew from I think it was week 8 of the regular season. I knew I had good pace here, so I wasn't too worried about that, and I was just trying to get this setup to feel nice through the whole range of conditions. I was a little bit off. I felt like I lost a little bit of pace to Riley in comparison to Riley towards the end of the race, but overall pretty happy with the setup.
Yeah, and the setup. So obviously with those conditions changing, setting up the car is now gotten a little trickier, hasn't it?
Yeah, you need to. The way that iRacing have now reduced the sort of the effects of the temperature, it's not as pronounced, but you definitely need to build a set that's good for the whole race, for the conditions throughout, especially knowing that we were only going to make one stop, so there's not too much opportunity to change tire pressures in pit stops.
All right, I'm going to bounce an idea off you that I had the other day. For endurance races, maybe iRacing implementing a set change. Of course, we know from endurance racing, there's all kinds of things that happen behind the scenes. Cars go behind the wall. They go in the garage. If it came at a cost of time, would you be in favor of offering some sort of a setup change, being able to make more adjustments, possibly in a pit stop?
I think that's a good idea for the longer races, like the 24-hour races that we're going to have next year. As long as the time that it takes is accurate, then yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, I think we might be on to something there. We'll see. Okay, well, all right. So what's next? Well, what's next is season 1 of 2019, Kamel GT back on the iRacing Esports Network. You looking forward to a new season?
Yeah, can't wait to get going and get racing these guys again.
All right. Well, we will see you next weekend, my friend. Great race today. And you got 6 days to prep. Get going.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See ya.
All right, Joe. That's Phil in and around the lake. Great victory for him today.
And a driver who maybe is a little bit disappointed that he didn't get a victory today, but certainly held the lead for a while, is Carl Janssen. Carl, what an up and down race for you. You had to chase down the leader and peel it away. And as other drivers put it, it seems like the death bounce got you.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I've been going down there the whole race, and then just this one time, of course, it goes wrong. It was like 10 laps left, so after I hit the wall, there was nothing to do. It's just starting to get the positions I could, and I think I got everyone that I actually could get. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but oh well, shit happens.
Apologies for the language there. And Carl, obviously, it got pretty dark there at the end. Do you think that contributed to maybe the death bounce? It looked like you kind of rode the curb a little bit through that corner. Was it hard to try and hit your marks as well as you did at the start?
No, the thing was that I had been going down the inside of that curve the whole race from the start. And I don't know what happened this time. It was like maybe I had a little bit more oversteer or something like that. So when I got off the curb, it didn't want to. It just kept on rotating in towards the wall. But the night aspect of the race was I didn't feel like there was any or it made anything harder. Maybe for the GTOs it doesn't have headlights, but for the GTP cars I think it was quite straightforward still.
Well, we like whenever you show up for these Kamel GT races. You going to come for the broadcast races this season in 2019?
I'll come for the tracks that I have time for, and I think it's fine or it's fun. Because there's a lot of going on with the Sports Car Open and also Pro Series coming up here, or Pro Series qualifier coming up. So I'll definitely try to do the rounds that I have time for, though. I really like the car in the series, and it's great.
Oh, we like when you show up to give some of those fast guys a run for their money. Commiserations on only managing fifth today, but thanks for a good show.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for broadcasting the race. As always, you do a very good job.
Thank you for that, Carl. And that was our fifth place finisher in the prototype class. One more interview to take care of. We have Adam talking to our second place driver in GTO, Riley Thompson.
Yeah, Riley, not a bad day for you at all. I mean, sure. I mean, second place wasn't exactly a win, but still great race for you. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think by the end of the first stint, the car just got too light and just uncontrollable enough to where I stayed out for way too long, and that helped Phil to catch me and enough to win the race.
Now, one question that a lot of us are asked, wondering about and thinking about and everything else, of course, with the lack of lights on the Audis, how was it from the driver's seat once the sun went down?
It actually wasn't too bad. I think there was still enough light that the actual one place that did throw me off was in turn one, where the light went into the darkness, so I just missed my braking point there a few times. But besides that, it actually wasn't too bad.
Well, good deal. Hey, what are you looking forward to the most here as we start going from 2018 and 2019 with the? I mean, are you gonna run some more of the Kamel GT stuff for 2019?
I'm looking forward to battling Phil once again, battling with all these guys in this amazing community. It's been awesome ever since I joined, and can't wait for another season.
All righty. Well, good luck to you, Riley, and we'll see you out on the track for the major stuff too.
And that's going to be it for our interviews. That was second place finisher in GTO, Riley Thompson. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to some people before we go for this event, especially to Sim Sport News for sponsoring this Sebring 300K. And they've done a lot to help the sim racing community, supporting various events, and also have a great product. So go check them out at simsportnews.com. Of course, a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for not only bringing us on for this special event, but for another season. We're going to be broadcasting them once again on GSRC, no more than 2 years now, as we get ready to air them here on the iRacing Esports Network when they start up in less than a week's time. Additional thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you head on over to our YouTube page, we also have a big red button that says subscribe. Make sure and hit that, and you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Boy, if you think these guys are a glutton for punishment, get this. Their first race on Saturday this week is going to be at Summit Point. That'll be December 15th at noon Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.